Hello friends, welcome back. Now let us talk about the one of the very important and very good features given by Azure Machine Learning Studio, which is data labeling. In a machine learning project, especially in deep learning, the most challenging part is getting the right labeled data. And suppose you are working in a computer vision project, then and suppose you have to classify multiple images into a dog or cat, or say suppose you want to classify some person, then what you need is, as per your domain, you need to label that data. What we can do today is let us think from a business use case perspective. Let us suppose we want to detect the invoice number and the exporter in a PDF or an image that has been supplied, which is a very common use case. So what happens is, when you train your deep learning engine, what you have to do is you have to specify in a specific location where that invoice number is. Let me show you the examples. I've downloaded some of the sample images from internet. Let me zoom it. So here you can see this is a sample invoice that I have downloaded. You can see this is your invoice number, and this is the exporter who has exported these goods from China to some place, right? Now, what you want is, whenever an image comes, you want to automatically detect what is the invoice number, so that you can map your goods or your exporter to that specific invoice number, right? So what we have to do is we have to label this reference number. One of the option, of course, is to run the OCR, then detect that reference number and find it out. Or you can actually train your neural network to capture that specific region where this invoice number can be found, and then directly extract it. Okay, so how we can do it in in so I've seen multiple people who face this kind of situation, and what they end up is they end up doing or building a UI for themselves where they do this rubber banding. This feature is called rubber banding, selecting the specific region. So they end up doing this rubber banding, and they build the UI, which is a very costly affair. Now, if you are using Azure Machine Learning, in the previous video, I've shown you how you can create your own account in the machine learning. Now, the feature that I'm going to talk today is this is available only in the enterprise edition, this ml.azure.com. If you see at the bottom, there is a feature called data labeling. So when you go to this data labeling, you can see you can create your own project. Let us do this. Let us try to create a project, add project, and invoice number labeling. Let us try to give this project some name. Okay. Now there are three type of labeling options that has been provided by Azure ML. All are part of the computer vision problem. First one is image classification multi-class. So what happens is, here there is multi-class means you have multiple classes. Let us say you have a dog, you have a cat, you have a buffalo, and your images are coming in. So you want, using this type of project, you can simply tag your image that this contains, this image contains your dog, this image contains your cat. Very simple one. Other one is multi-label classification. This is a scenario when you want to when a single image depicts multiple labels. For example, suppose there is a cake, right, in a image. Now that cake actually represents your dessert. Your cake represents your fat. Your cake represents sweet as well, right? Suppose you have a multiple classes into that can be selected from a sweet, salted, cake, pastry. Then in that case, probably for a cake image, you would like to select a cake as well as a sweet rather than a salted or a pastry. So this is a kind of example where a single picture depicts multiple labels. Now, in the case that we are talking about, like finding out a label into the invoice is a case of object identification. In this case, what you do is you tag uh, the specific item into the image. Let us go ahead and try to do it. Okay, we select object identification using a bounding box. With the box that we draw, it's called a bounding box. Okay, we select next. So next thing that we have to do is we have to create a data set. First, it is trying to load the existing data set. I had already created one invoices data set which contains only two files. So for this demonstration, let us create one more data set from local files, uh, China invoices, let's say. Okay, data description, let us not say anything for it now. Now, currently selected data store. This is workspace blob store, which is by default provided. You can select a different blob storage if you want. Otherwise, you can simply go ahead and select the file from your dataset. You simply click browse. Go to your files images where you have kept the images. Let us one, two, three, four. Let us select these four images. Or let us say five images. Okay. So these will start uploading now. You can see images are uploading. We have to wait for a while. Okay, next. Now the uploading starts. Okay, so these files have been uploaded, and when then we are going to select create. So your data set will get created. Which data set we had just created is invoice China. Okay, let us select this and click next. So our data set is selected. Now, if we enable incremental refresh, there is an optional feature provided by Azure. This is the case. Suppose you have uploaded your images to a Azure blob storage, and you keep on updating it. Then what happens is you can actually enable this incremental refresh, and it will keep on polling that storage, so that whenever a new image comes, it just detects it. Okay, for now, let us go ahead and label names. This is an important feature here. What we are going to extract is one is invoice number or reference number. Let us say reference number, and another one, let us try to export details. Let us try to label these two things. You can add as many classes as you want. Next. Now this is an interesting part, labeling instruction. So when you are creating this project, of course you are not creating it just for yourself. Of course you can create, so your data set is suppose smaller, you can do it for yourself. But in a practical scenario, when you have thousands of images, then you will have to have multiple labelers, multiple people who will be working on labeling this data. You can hire cheap resources from market, or you can outsource this work, who will do the labeling for you. Now, in that case, when you outsource this work to multiple labelers, then you have to explain them. So, here you can provide the instructions for the people who are actually going to label it. Azure provides role-based access control. You can create actually different groups, add the people to this group, and people who are able to log into that specific Azure account, who are a part of your AD group, who are part of your group, they will be able to access your project. Right. Okay. Let us now, this is a very, very interesting feature. I am going to show the snapshot of this, how to work on this. This is ML assisted labeling. what happens is, suppose you are labeling your project, right? In that case, what happens is, you suppose an image, a similar type of image keeps on repeating in front of you, then you will end up labeling or selecting the bounding box for that image every time. So, and so a machine learning model has been introduced by Azure here, which will learn from your existing labels, whatever the annotations you have done, and will start suggesting you. Okay, I'll show you in the end how it works. For now, it is a it of course it needs some computation power, right? That is why we have to create a GPU cluster. For now, I'm just disabling it for the sake of simplicity, and we can simply go ahead and create the project. Let's start labeling now. Okay, how many images we have labeled till now is zero. So zero, 5 items labeled. You can anytime come to this dashboard. Suppose 100 people are sitting and you want to know what is the status of these 100 people working on your data labeling project. So you can refer to this dashboard. You can any now this label data button is there. Suppose anytime you think that people are doing wrong labeling and you want to stop them, or you want to pause your project, you can simply click this project to stay paused, and people will not see that label data button. Okay, now let us resume the project, and you can see the label data. Now the interesting part comes. Let us now I have created the project. Project creator job is done. Now suppose I am the labeler. I am taking the hat of labeler now, and here is your annotation screen. You can this is first image, right? You can zoom in, zoom out. You can move the regions. I'll show you. By default, rectangular region has been selected. There is a lock region facility. I'll tell you about it. This is a very good part. And first thing, let me make you familiar with this. So this is the canvas on which you are actually going to select the bounding box, or you are going to do the annotation. On the right side, there is the tag section. So whatever the classes you have created are going to be shown here. Reference number or exporter details. These two classes we had created. So first, what we are going to do is we are going to select this area for reference number, right? So let me zoom it. And first I'm going to select reference number, which is already selected, and I am going to select this area. Now this is my reference number. Second thing what we have to do is we have to select our exporter name. So first we'll select exporter detail that I'm going to tag, and then select this area. So these two things have been labeled. Okay, so how it looks like. So this is one, this is two, and I'm going to submit it. Okay, now this is submitted as second image has come. Let us go to our project and see one item has been labeled. 20% work is done, right? Now this pre-labeled is there because we is for your ML based auto suggestions, right? So four manual tasks are still pending in the queue. We can go ahead and select and submit others as well. Let me show you another important feature. Okay, let me select the label data. Okay, let me select this. So here there are two tabs. First of all, one is the dataset preview, what you have just seen, whatever is available, and other one is label data, which we have labeled. Here you can see a reject button is there. So what does this reject button does is you actually can uh, verify as a approver and see whether this labeling has been done correctly. Suppose somebody has not done a right labeling, you can actually go ahead and reject this work. So when you reject this work, what is going to happen? This this has to be labeled again. Okay, then that will go back to your queue. Right, so you can see now again your dashboard is showing 0% progress. Okay, so that's how actually you can work as a data labeler and data approver. Now, what next is, suppose you have labeled some data. Now, suppose this is your data set. Now, let us try to label it. Two features I want to show you. One is the log region. Right, so let me show you. So, in case of multiple areas, suppose this reference number and this thing, exporter, suppose these are overlapping. Okay, so let me first zoom it. Let me select the exporter details. Suppose in specific scenario, there are two exporter details here, assume. Okay, then in that case, how will you label, how will you overlap some content? So this may happen, suppose in case of image, suppose a dog and a cat, suppose a, and they are into the same picture and they are overlapping. Right, suppose a human is carrying his puppy. Right, in that case, how will you show a human and a puppy? In because both are into the same picture. In that case, what you have to do is you will log this region. Now this region is logged, and then you are going to select that area again. Okay, one second. So this is your second area, right? Then you are going to remove this, unlock the regions. Now you can see there are two exporters here. One exporter is this, second exporter is this. Right? There are, let me remove. Now two exporter details are there. One is this one and another is this one. By mistake, I had selected one more exporter area here. You can do this. So let me label other one as well. Now actually this is a wrong labeling. Let me submit it. So this is a wrong labeling has happened. Okay, 20% work done. Uh, now you have seen, right, how to label this data. Now what will you do with this data? So what you can do is you can select whatever you have labeling you have done as a COCO file or a Azure ML dataset. Now, what is a COCO file? A COCO file is a JSON format, which is open standard format defined. If you have ever trained any deep learning or machine learning engine on a computer vision dataset, then you must have encountered that COCO dataset published by Microsoft in the internet. So this is your COCO dataset, common objects in context. So you can see you actually can use it for image captioning. Then both these are kind of use cases for which you can use Coco datasets. You What you have to do is you will simply export this Coco file. Okay, it is getting exported and a JSON file. See, now the JSON file is created. Let me download this. Let me open this. So this JSON file has been created now, and you can see here these are the images. These are the images that have been uploaded. You can see only one image has been uploaded here, and whatever the labels we have created here is this is one bounding box, this is the bounding box that we had created. Remember, we had created two boxes. So this is the location of those boxes, right? For which image ID 1. So this is a standard format. You can actually upload your image into the public by submitting this dataset. Easy, right? Or you can actually put your Python code to understand the area of the image and can train your model accordingly. What was next is export as a Azure ML dataset. Let me export this as a Azure ML dataset. What happens is the purpose of exporting as a Azure ML dataset is, suppose you do not want to export your labeling outside Azure. You want to consume it within Azure. So in that case, it will get stored into the Azure itself, and you can, and your machine learning, different machine learning models can consume it directly. So now it has been exported to a dataset, invoice number labeling this. If I click this, um, let me go to datasets. You can see invoice number labeling, this dataset has been created. You actually can simply consume it in your uh, multiple, in your different machine learning project. So this was how you can use annotation or data labeling by using this ml.azure.com Azure ML data labeling feature, which I think is very interesting and very useful. And if you are working in computer vision, then of course you will find this useful. Let me know how, what's your view, whether you liked it or not, and I'll appreciate your comments. Thanks for watching.